Welcome, everybody.
Ah,
I am Rebecca Weston from the Camino Calls. I'm here with Kathie Carnahan, and she walks the Camino Inglés with me as part of my first Camino Walk with Rebecca organized trip. Normally, I help people plan their Caminos, but sometimes I do some organized groups as well. And so I'm delighted to have her along. So thanks, Kathie, for joining me today.
my pleasure. My pleasure. I'm looking forward to this.
So I want to point out that first of all, in the title of this, and I'll fix that you were 70 when you went on this first Camino just a couple months ago. And tell us what what made you how did you first hear about the Camino? Let's start there.
Okay. Well, first of all, thanks for shaving a year off. That actually made me feel good to shave a year off. Uh, but I first heard about the Camino randomly, and this goes back about 10 years ago, that I was consciously aware of hearing about it through a friend. And then right after that, it started happening all the time. It kept popping up. But it wasn't like a concept I hadn't heard of. Somewhere in the deep recesses, somewhere of some memory, I'd heard about it, but then it kept popping up and then popping up more more often. And to the thing where I was looking for it, for another side for it to pop up again. And then I became just inexplicably curious. So I took courses at UNC Asheville. I would go to REI where you've lectured. And I joined the Asheville Camino walking group, which was
Mhm.
really helpful because I was the only imposter there. I was the only one who hadn't been on the Camino, but I learned a lot from everybody else's experiences, but it really helped fire me up.
Gotcha. And so Kathie, so you first heard about this over 10 years ago. What made you finally go from thinking like, "Oh, this would be a cool thing to do," to making it happen?
The turning point was when you mentioned in your information that you were planning a group. I don't know how to explain. It's just, I didn't know I was waiting for the right moment. I actively wanted to go and kept looking for a reason or excuse or a way to go. And uh, anyway, I didn't know how to go about it. It seemed bigger than me, and I didn't know how to go about it. So, actually, when I knew you, it was like when you're, and I had, ironically, the name of your company, the Camino Calls, it called out to me. It yelled at me. This is it. This is your opportunity. I knew you. I know how thorough you are. I know how enthusiastic you are about the Camino, how rich you are with information and knowledge. And I thought, this is it. It doesn't get any better than this. I mean, so really, you were the key point to me saying, "This is my moment. No excuses, no nothing. I'm doing this
Mhm.
with
And
Rebecca,
it's sorry to
period."
interrupt you. It's just amazing how, depending on because I had thought about a Camino for 12 years before I ever went on my first one. And it was exactly the same thing. There was a certain point where it just
This is it.
comes to you and you're like, this is it. This is the time.
Yeah,
Whatever means that is, and often you're kind of surprised by it. But
correct.
but yeah, when it calls to you and you just, things start falling into place and you start making things happen. And so I'm glad that you were able to join us on that trip. Tell me some of the questions or concerns that you had prior to embarking on your Camino.
Um, Initially, Um, number one, I was chicken. Concerned. I was just plain chicken. Um, People think I'm outgoing, but I'm actually shy. I'm a fake outgoing person. And I really was concerned. You hear about, oh, you meet all these people on the way. And I thought, what if I just want to go, kind of do my own thing? Um, Instead, and I was worried. I thought I could work it and do it. I'm not great about, um, going up. I like flat walks, originally from New Orleans, so I'm used to everything being but this was the route that you chose, the Ingles was a reasonable route. It was not going to be, but I was concerned about, the what ifs. Um, and one question that really nagged me because I was really hoping I'd get something out of this, like some sort of peace or whatever. I'm not sure exactly how to describe it, but some sort of inner something that you hear people coming back with revelations, and I'm not a cult kind of person, I don't mean it that way, but just some sort of, and you come out with feeling better than when you went in kind of a thing.
Mhm.
And what if I didn't? What if I came out, it was a nice walk, but the expectation, I didn't wanna be disappointed if if I didn't feel different from it.
I have a friend who says you can't plan an epiphany.
Yeah, that's
And
true. It's
but
true.
I'm curious because a lot of people do like so many people I've met do the Camino for a reason. They want an answer to a question, or they're in the middle of a life transition or
Right,
something along those lines. And it is a hard thing to say to people, you can't necessarily expect you're gonna get to the cathedral, all of a sudden, boom, this voice is gonna
right,
come and give you this
right.
message, but you do learn some things, and I feel it and it's not things that we necessarily thought we needed to learn or what we
Correct.
expected. So can you tell us a little bit more about, so did you get that feeling or that something or
Well, I kept looking for it along the way. Every day I thought, okay, this is the day. I'm gonna, I'm gonna have that lightning bolt. And I didn't. I didn't. I enjoyed the whole experience. However, as soon as I got on the airplane, and you had told me this lots of times, it's not necessarily during the process. Afterwards, it starts to unfold when you have time to kind of reflect. And it was literally when I got on the plane, it just started washing over me like waves of wow. I had come out with the physical satisfaction that I had done it. I had met some wonderful people. The whole experience was pleasant, except for one little hill. But then a Camino angel stepped in and she told me how to tackle the hills, and then she disappeared. But it was a life lesson that she taught me in taking little steps. Don't look too far up. Just look at your feet and trust in yourself, and all of a sudden you're at the top, so it was funny, but, mine continues, even this morning, I was driving to go pick up some gifts I had made for somebody and, that I should have cooked myself, but I didn't have time, and, something just kinda came to me out of the blue, something like and it was a profound thought, and I'm thinking, "Wow, how did I not ever think of it that way?" So, it's just the gift that keeps on giving. And it's delightful when it happens, it's like, "Wow, that's cool," and I know it is a residual gift from the Camino. You just I don't know how to explain it, it's like when you know, you know. You just know. It's odd. It's hard to articulate. I'm a writer, I am verbose, but I have a really hard time putting this into words in a wonderful way. M I don't know, magical, wondrous, um it's all positive. It's all really enriching kind of feelings. So,
mhm, mhm. Would you mind, do you have any of those insights that you'd like to share with us?
okay. And there are a couple. A minute ago I referenced a little Camino angel, I call her, when my sister-in-law were trying to get up a hill and we were using our poles and we're looking up and groaning and she came over and she was British and she said, "Stop looking up." And she was a very experienced Camino walker, and she said, "Look at your feet and get a cadence, get a rhythm. You lean into your poles for support. It's like you lean into your friends for support. They're your friends. Lean into it, and before you know it, you're going to be at the top. Stop looking up there and gasping at how much you have to do." And sure enough, and it became this euphemism for other things that we do. And she had something serious that came up shortly after we came back and she had to go out of town for it, and I said, "Pack your poles. I know this sounds crazy, but pack your poles. Lean into you can do it. Look down, get a cadence. Don't look too far ahead. Be in the moment." And there was something this morning. I mentioned this morning the profound thing when I was thinking about our conversation today and things I had learned. Um, One of the reasons I was on this journey was to find some balance and recalibrate after a transition that I'm going through since my husband passed away. And I realized I'd been telling people that I lost my husband. And all of a sudden I thought, I need to stop saying that. I never lost him. He's still with me. And he wasn't mine to have.
Mm,
I'd never had him to lose. He was just always with me, and he's still with me. So now I'm consciously, now in the past hour, saying, he passed away, but he wasn't mine to lose, and I'd never lost him. I really never had him. He was with me,
mhm,
but I don't know how to explain that. But even this morning, thinking about Camino, then it's like powerful thoughts that are very soothing, that are supportive and enriching, um, and part of that is this huge amount of gratitude I have. I've come back and I'm just so grateful. And again, the gratitude comes, I'm so grateful that I had the time that I had. It's like, how lucky was I? That I just extreme gratitude that, um, but gratitude comes through and pulls me through sad times or dark times. The gratitude weighs now more than anger or sadness. Gratitude way overshadows over that and just sort of smooths everything out.
That's awesome. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing those insights with us. And yeah, I had never thought of it that way, especially, with your husband. And again, I'm sorry for his passing. I never met him, but I know you guys
The
were
best. We were
entirely dedicated to each other. And yeah. And so,
very fortunate.
and that,
Yeah.
that piece that you said too about little steps and getting a cadence, it's so interesting that you say that because I was just doing a reflection activity for this past year that I do every year. And thanks to a guy named Leo Babauta who has a site called Zen Habits. But anyway, it's called the Sacred Vow, and it's a yearly. You go back and look at all of your accomplishments over the past year and lessons learned, as well as things where you dropped the ball, things like that. And one of the themes that kept coming up for me, and I'm gonna get chills just saying this, is to keep moving forward. Like, just keep plugging along. Like, it's okay to stop once in a while and be like, "You know what?
Mhm.
Today's not the day. I'm not gonna move forward today."
Yeah.
But you can take it up again. It's not like
Right.
you have to beat yourself up every time. And so I appreciate that lesson kind of keeps coming up. So thank
Yeah.
you.
And also be in the moment. At the same time, being in the moment with that cadence, be in that moment, but you're moving forward, so it's that they are synchronized together. You're moving forward because you're in the moment. I know it sounds like, but they're intrinsically connected that when you have that cadence going and you have a rhythm of life, you are inherently moving forward. And, you don't have to get too far ahead. I mean, for some things you actually do for planning or whatever, but don't, if it starts causing angst or and whatever, slow it down, but keep a rhythm going. It's like, rhythm of life kind of thing.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And Kathie, you went on this trip as well with your sister-in-law. So tell us about how that came about. I mean, did you just
Oh,
say to her, "Hey, I'm doing this thing, come along," or
yeah.
was it on
Yeah.
her list, or what happened here?
It wasn't until I started talking about it during COVID, and I would send her pictures of walks I had taken. Did a lot of walking to get out of the house by myself.
Mhm.
And and she became curious. And so when I mentioned, no, this is really coming to fruition, and I said, oh, sort of offhandedly, you still want to go? She immediately said, absolutely. Absolutely, I want to go. If you are going, definitely I want to go. And she's the perfect travel partner. We're extremely close. She's like a sister, more than a sister in law. But she's the kind you don't have to keep talking with. You can go, she could go a little bit ahead of me, or I could go a little bit behind her. We were with each other, but yet we didn't have to be with each other. I mean, most of the time we were in tandem, but there was never that forced airtime that needed to be filled. And she is so interesting. We were the extreme nature nookers. She knows a lot about botany and whatnot, as you know. And it was so fascinating to see it through her eyes. She was seeing things that I wasn't seeing. And so I really encourage someone to take at least one other, if you can, partner. If you can, I think it enriches the experience. If you allow those to be open to hearing and see what other people see and feel, and you can express it along the way. It's very non-threatening, it's not competitive. Yes, and you don't wanna pick a competitive person. And
I
and
was just going to say, you have to pick the right travel companion, though, because I've
yes,
written about
yes,
this. Um,
correct. It's very important, and I tend to be competitive. I never felt competitive with this. I didn't feel like I had to be the rabbit out of the block first thing in the morning and be the first one with a glass of wine at the end of the day. I never fe I felt like, "Savor this moment." this may never come back again. I hope it does.
Mhm,
But for
mhm,
now, this is great. And I'm hoping next time I'll see even more things I didn't see this time. But yeah, finding the right person to do it with was wonderful. Absolutely
mhm.
wonderful.
And I've said to people, if you can't find the right person to go with, it is better to go alone than to go with the wrong
Oh,
person.
so yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's nice afterwards. And you had mentioned this before we went. It's nice that you have, someone you can bounce your thoughts off of
Mhm,
afterwards. And
mhm,
we talk now more than we did ever before. And I'm not necessarily a text message or where we communicate more, I'll put it that way. Um, a different things strike us in a way that only I know she'll get and she'll know I'll get
mhm,
because we have this
mhm.
experience together.
Yeah, yeah. Let's step back a little bit. Let's go back to while you were on the Camino.
Yeah.
What are some things that surprised you about this journey?
Well, I have to laugh because we talked early on, after like the second day, and I said, it surprised me that it was so easy. Everything was so easy. The next day was that hill that I refer to, which was just one. That was, but, but, it surprised me. Um, I was surprised at how much I got out of it. I got so much more out of it than I put into it. I put a lot into it. It wasn't easy in a good way. It wasn't hard either. It's a challenge. Any challenge, there's give and take with whatever you're dealing with. But I feel like I got so much more out of it. I'm thinking, but I didn't, um, but it felt good afterwards knowing that I had done it. It's something I've done that nobody can take away from me. I
Mhm,
have it. It's
mhm,
mine. It will always be mine. Um, but I'm still sort of in the honeymoon phase of it.
mm,
I'm still thinking about those specific details. It's amazing because we did this in October and now we're mid-December.
uh-huh.
Um, and I still feel like I have that emotional glow about it. And it just gets deeper and richer,
Mm,
inexplicably. Um, I look at the pictures all the time. I go
mhm,
back and I look at the pictures. I just made a book for myself and for my sister-in-law with some of the pictures, and I encourage people to do that. Afterwards, come back,
mhm,
make a little book. I anyway, but that's just like I said, I'm a writer, but and I used to write professionally as well. And
mhm.
I did not journal. All this is still in my mind, and it's still working its way out.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny you mentioned that because I remember, when I take groups on the Camino, we did one, post Camino reflection call, and that was something you had mentioned, and I have thought a lot about too, is that, starting, when I start this monthly, Camino group, that writing will be an option, that I think, we often don't give ourselves the time or the space to just sit
Correct.
and write about an experience, um, so there's the time and the space, and then there's also what to write. And so the idea is that I will kind of generate some thoughts about your personal Camino and then
That's a
write a
great
post.
idea.
But yeah,
Sometimes you need an excuse to do it. I mean, I have the excuse that I have this experience, I want to record it. However, I remember taking a class at UNC Asheville that had to do with a memoir. It was writing a
mhm,
memoir. And it was the same thing. I had to make time, you know, and it was something you could share or you didn't have to share. It was optional. But having a prompt helped, but making time, I had to make the time. And I'm not making myself make the time. I'm not holding my feet to the fire to do it.
yeah,
I did think
making
it'd
the
be helpful.
time, but yeah, having that community where you
Correct.
are meeting at a regular time in a regular
Yes. Like the
place,
class I
or
had. Yeah. I was
like that.
accountable for it. But it's safe. It's nice because you're with a group of people that are not making time, and they looking for an excuse to make time. And this is something I'll be so glad I did it.
Yeah,
I know that. I know
yeah,
I'd be so glad if I just sit down and do it. I'd be so
exactly,
glad.
Exactly. Wonderful, wonderful. Tell me some of the, because I know we have laughed about this before, that I did a live interview. Well, we're live now too, but for those of us that are watching us live, welcome, by the way, to all of you that are on this call. I see some wonderful people here. Some I know, some that I don't. So definitely, if you guys have any questions for Kathie or myself, feel free to jot those in. But one of the things that we laughed about that first a conversation that you and I had is you were like, it's so easy, it's so easy. So and I always tell people it's not 100% every day is a piece of cake. But yeah, you were on day 2. I think you were on this high.
Euphoric, yes.
Yes, and the Inglés honestly is what, for as far as physical challenge, is
Yes,
one of the, probably in my
perfect.
experience, is the easiest one to walk the last 100 kilometers of.
It was a
Um,
perfect introduction, and it
okay.
wasn't crowded as the Francaise can be from Sarria to
Mhm.
Santiago de Compostela. So it really, I mean, there were people there. I didn't feel alone.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but I think when I think back on about bubbling over with this ease, I was so relieved that it was all falling into place. In that all of your arrangements, I showed up and there was a lovely place that we would stay. We had wonderful meals. We could have dinner. We could talk with others if we wanted. We didn't have to, but all those details of moving my gear from one location to another, it worked out.
yeah.
And initially we found you too. That was another thing. We did find you in Ferrol. Um, and it was easier than I expected to find
Mhm,
you. I was really worried
mhm,
about that. That part was that you gave great instructions. And
mhm.
so though all those pieces really, I was checking off the box. It worked out. I was there. I was in a wonderful, clean hotel, no bed bugs. It was lovely. And on top of it, it was lovely. It wasn't
Yeah,
the no-tell motel. It was
yeah,
lovely, charming.
mhm,
Every place we
yeah,
stayed in was
yeah,
delightful and had delightful innkeepers and whatever. I mean, truly a treat. So I was really relieved and happy about that. So I think the ease part, you helped facilitate that ease. And then we had to do the work. But I think I was just so happy that it all came together and I
yeah,
was on it and I was safe and all that.
mhm.
So
Now, did you have some moments, Kathie? You talk about this hill as being one of your challenges. What are what are some of the challenges that you faced on this Camino?
um I have bad feet. I have one angry section with a bunion on it, and I wasn't sure if it was going to start yelling and screaming at me or not. So I did come with a prolific amount of equipment that more than clothes. I had gadgets and things. And it worked out. I had enough. I over worried about that. So I think I'd caution people about overwearing. The Camino provides, it does provide, and there are pharmacies everywhere. And I could go. So, but the hard parts, I think there was one other stretch. You'll find it's like it's metaphor for life. Some days are easier, some days are harder. You get through it. You find a way. You have the ability to get through it and be resourceful. Okay, if this didn't work, then whatever. And I think it was really great that you left us to our own devices after the first 3 days, because then we've owned our process at that point forward. We owned it. We had to figure it out. I remember one stretch um, that was aside an interstate kind of a thing, and
Mhm.
it seemed to go on forever. It didn't. But in the moment, I was tired and the sun was beating down, and that was just me. I was just having a moment. But I mean, again, it's one big metaphor for life. So whether it's a hill or it's a stress next to the interstate, and there wasn't, one tree anywhere, it went out together. And I felt like the sun's beating down on me. I'm like, cut it out. I'm going to get
Yeah.
skin cancer here or something. But it's just, it's life. And
Yeah.
rely on yourself, trust
Mhm.
yourself,
Mhm.
trust yourself. So,
Yeah.
It's okay, but we really, I didn't know if I was gonna end up on my hands and knees when we pulled in that evening, but I didn't. I walked in and could sit down and have a nice glass of wine, so it worked out
Mhm,
perfectly.
mhm, yeah, and for those of you that don't know about the Camino Inglés, it's a lesser known route of the Camino de Santiago, and I always like to point out to people that the Camino de Santiago is not, in fact, one route, as I thought
Correct.
when I did my first Camino. It is a network of trails across Europe, actually, all leading to Santiago de Compostela in Spain that people can walk any time of year. Depending on the time of year, there may or may not be as many accommodations open or restaurants open, etc. But the busy times to go are pretty much May to October. I shouldn't say busy. There's plenty of people on the Camino at those in those months. And the Camino Inglés specifically starts in Ferrol, which is north of Santiago. And you come down and it's 100 kilometers, it's 113 kilometers actually from Santiago. And we took 7 days to do it. Some people do it in as few as 4 or 5. Some people were taking 9 days. So that's another thing about the Camino is that you can take the time that you want. But if you are planning ahead, it gets a little trickier because you have to know where you're going so you can know where to send your bag to. Um, so
But
tell us, yeah, go
And
ahead.
that was a perfect I don't mean to interrupt you, but that I had never ever considered the Anglaise, ever. In my mind, thinking when I finally did embark on walking one of the routes, I thought I'd do a portion of the Française or I would do the Portuguese.
Mhm.
Never ever, and I really didn't know anything about it until you mentioned that's when I started looking into. And it is absolutely the perfect way to sort of cut your teeth. Because I just like I said, it wasn't jammed with people, it was just right. The and it really for someone who doesn't like anything that heads up, and that was, I like it was but it was perfect because it was just enough challenge, but it wasn't overbearing at
Mhm.
all. It was the right pace, you had a really good pace, so I came out of it, I've been singing the praises of this route now, I've just and there is a Facebook group, the Camino Inglés,
Mhm.
and I keep
Mhm.
saying, "Do it. This is the one you wanna do for your
Yeah.
first one. This is it."
Yeah. It's lovely. It is a lovely route, and I when I work with people to help them figure out which route they wanna take, because that's sometimes the first thing we start with when I'm working with
Mhm.
clients is, "What route do you want?" There are plenty of routes that people haven't necessarily heard of, and there's lots of
Correct.
different things to take into consideration when you're choosing your route, but ultimately, I tell people, "You know what? Whatever route you take is gonna be the right route for you." Um, so I'm glad the Inglés worked out
It was
as the right route for
great.
you. Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
was great. Yeah, I think, if do your homework to the extent, and someone can talk to you, but it will unfold. No matter what it is, it's supposed to happen the way it's supposed to happen. That's something else I came out of it. Don't try to control everything. Be prepared, but put that control take it off. And, you can't control rain. You can't in fact, our first day, we had quite a bit of rain, which
We did
was
too.
really interesting to start the first day. And it was delightful. I can't believe I'm saying it. It was delightful and fun. And maybe not everybody would think that, but I feel like I'm really doing this. This is real. I'm walking in the rain. I'm a real pilgrim. Um, but just don't try to control that. Be smart and plan, but don't
Mhm.
try to over control. Don't. Yeah, you'll lose some of the magic if you do that.
Yeah. Kathie, can you tell us a little bit about what's it like arriving in Santiago?
Oh my goodness. Wow, that's one of the hardest things for me to describe. Um, I felt like, are we there yet? Like a child, in a station wagon back in the 50s or something. Not that I would know, but I just say, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Um, and that was like maybe the longest day because there was so much anticipation of getting there. Is it
Mhm.
Christmas morning? Is it there? And we kept walking and walking, and I it was unscripted for me. I didn't know what to explain, so I hope I don't spoil it for anybody. But you're walking along, you're aware, you can see the cathedral in the distance, and you're getting closer and closer, and you can still see the spire, and you keep walking closer. And I didn't know that you go through this little tunnel area, and there's usually someone playing Celtic music there. I didn't know it. I was like, what's going on here? Just sort of question. And then you come out into the sunlight. It's just a little brief little tunnel thing. And you come out to the sun, and there's this wide plaza in front of the Camino. And I remember seeing your smiling face and you're waving and jumping, and two other members of our group were there. I was so overwhelmed. I don't know how to say, just overwhelmed by being there. I had arrived and I was there, and I just felt, I remember I was saying, I hope I wasn't rude. I was so in rapture of the moment of feeling happy and successful and grateful. And it was hard. It caught me off guard. And the only other way I know to describe it is, and it's sorry, for my poor son. When I had my first child, and the experience when he was first born, I heard the cry and I was just overwhelmed with emotion, joy, and happiness. And I felt that same sort of inexplicable joy and excitement, and not the same, but it was a similar kind of exhilarating experience being there. And everybody's different. And you have all these people converging from all the different routes all day long. There's this high, and it's contagious. Everybody's thrilled, and you have young kids. I was laughing because all the young kids are collapsed on this on the pavement, and like, and I'm like, look, I'm 70 and I'm standing up. I don't need to lie down. They're lying down with the backpacks on the head like they had just walked, I don't know, through the fire and stuff. And but there is an it's so exhilarating. Everybody's high fiving and smiling at each other. There's this community of happiness. It's hard to describe.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. How did you feel when you first did it? You've done it several times. Is it the
I
same this
have.
time?
Yeah, it's funny. Last year was the first time I've ever actually driven to Santiago de Compostela. Every other time
Oh,
I'd been there 6 times before, and every single time it was by walking. So I had never
oh,
actually arrived by car. So that was pretty crazy. But anyway, but yeah, you're right. People have all these different emotions going in. And it's interesting because you talk about somebody being there to meet you. When we did our trip together, as some of you may know, I walk with people for the first few days, and then I leave you on your own to finish your Camino and meet you again in Santiago. Um, and that's a little unnerving too, because you're right. You get there because I remember on my first Camino, there was somebody that I had met who I knew was getting there the day before me. We had been keeping in touch on WhatsApp. Um, and he said, "I'll wait for you in the square." And it was just, I think that was amazing for me too, to have somebody that
yeah.
was there
It was
waiting
special.
for me. That
It
was
was
pretty cool.
special.
And I hadn't
Yeah.
thought about it until you just mentioned it
Oh, it was really
when I
special.
was on the other
And
side.
I didn't see anybody else. It was funny, of all those people out there, I saw you, and I was really glad to have that with you. I was really glad
Yeah.
I had that moment with you.
Yeah.
We knew each other before the
Right.
Camino,
Right.
but you had been so kind and patient with all the information and going through it, and um, but it was made it that much more special when I saw you there. And the moment I was kinda cut up, but that was part of the happy part was you were there, counting your little chickens as we arrived. And, and we were the last ones, of course, because we were nature nooking along the way, stopping to examine the chestnuts on the ground or what kind of
Yeah.
flora, mushrooms, whatever we were looking at.
Mhm.
And, but that was part of the specialness,
Yeah.
actually. So I'm
Yeah.
really glad that you were there, and I think you mentioned one time you pondered whether or not to be there at the end or something, and I'm really glad you chose to be.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
for us, the walking, yeah, it was came
And
full circle. You started with
yes.
us. It was a
Yes.
full
Yes.
circle.
Yeah, and it was nice too to because the other 2 women that were part of our group were also there at that
Yes.
point, and I had
Yes.
seen, so it's, um, I'd already met them ahead of time, and been hanging out with them for a little bit, and then we knew where you were and where you were coming in, so it was something, but it's interesting too that you mentioned walking in and seeing the spires of the cathedral, because I should mention to people that are interested in doing the Camino, you don't necessarily get that view from every direction that you come in.
Oh, interesting.
So when you're talking about all the people that are converging on the square coming in from the different routes, there are the Camino Frances is what we joined eventually walking in. when you come in on the Portuguese, you come from a different place. When you come in on the Camino
Interesting.
Via de la Plata, you come in from a different route. So there's there's multiple one, two, there's at least four entrances into that plaza. One of them is where you go to leave if you want to keep walking and go onto the ocean, which some people
Yes.
do.
Next
Um,
time to me. Next
yeah,
time.
yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah, I didn't do the walks when I did my first Camino. I always tell people I had no idea. First of all, there were many routes. I didn't know you could start anywhere else other than 500 miles away in San Pedro, France. I thought that was the only option. And I'm glad I did it. But and then I didn't know you could walk onto the ocean. And I remember people were kind of talking about it and were they going to do it, weren't they? And I had the time, but I realized like my body and we had an agreement that it was going to get me to Santiago. And once we got there, my body was like, yeah, we're good. You can some other time, kid, but we're not doing any more of this. uh,
I've been there once before, driven there, but I
mm,
hadn't done this under this circumstance, and I really want to do it. Doing the walk, take a ride back, perhaps, but to Santiago, and I want to spend more time in Santiago. It's a charming place. We'd love to
mm.
spend more time there.
I do tell people that. Tell me a little bit because some people like just say, oh, they get to Santiago, they get in maybe midday or the afternoon, and then they have
Mm.
to flight out like the next day.
Wow,
What do
I
you
can't.
recommend for Santiago?
And I was kind of one of those people due to prior obligations. Well, my sister-in-law needed to get back, and I really did too, actually. But uh, so we stayed to the next day, and then took a train back to Madrid. I was disappointed that I had to leave. I really felt like I wasn't ready to go. I mean, I really felt like I wasn't finished. And the town or the city of Santiago is charming, and I'm a traveler. You know this. I've traveled a lot. I want to continue to travel. Um, it was endearing, and part of it is this euphoria of everybody walking the streets. Everybody's so happy. They're just they're so pleased with themselves, it does. Um, and it's such an upbeat place to be. But the city itself, the architecture, the food that we had, everybody was so nice. It just was a place I'd like to spend more time in. I want to dive deeper into Santiago underneath the Camino. It's integral, it's an integral part of it, but I just want to know more. I want to spend more time going through the cathedral. I really just did. Oh, one of the best parts I have to bring up is seeing the bum,
Baro,
bum,
Baro Fumero. Yeah.
Battle Fronero. I can speak French and Italian, but not Spanish. Um, we were so fortunate to go through that experience. That was another experience that caught me totally off guard. It
For
is,
people that don't know, I was going to say, can
yes.
you explain what it is?
So there is a custom in the cathedral for holy days, Catholic holy days, and a few other exceptions, to have it's a 5-foot silver incense mechanism that takes 10 men with pulling on the cords, and it swings from one end of the cathedral to the other. And it's highly dramatic. It's highly, uh, I don't know, one of those things is hard to encompass in words.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I had wanted to see it so badly. And we were so fortunate that we were there on a day that wasn't a holy day, that evidently someone had made a contribution. And so it happened. And it was another moment, caught me off guard. I started weeping like a baby, and I don't even know. I'm not Catholic. It's not that. I don't know. I don't know. I was raised Catholic, but it wasn't that. There was something else, some other, again, I can't put the words to it, but the feelings were so strong, and I felt so fortunate. Really, it was just like weeping like a baby watching it out of the blue. I don't know. But if anybody makes it, they're at Easter or Christmas,
Hmm.
supposedly with a handsome donation. Sometimes they'll consider doing it. Um, but oh my goodness.
And there are
It's
definitely, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, please.
I was gonna say there's definitely other times where they do it. Like there's days where they definitely do it, and that's published on their website. And then you had asked me about the contribution because yes, people can make a donation, and they will sit you in the front row,
Hmm.
and it will happen at the end of mass. And I tell people that some of the tour groups, if you meet a tour group walking in on the Camino, ask them when they're going to the mass because a lot of the tour groups will pay to make sure that it swings so that their people see it. It is an incredible experience, and it's not necessarily uncommon, but it's not there's no guarantee
Correct.
that you're going to see it. And the other thing is that they used to swing it at the beginning of the mass, but then a bunch of people would then leave. And so now you have to stay, you have to go to the mass. And once the mass starts, they don't let anyone else in. So you can't walk around while the mass, I mean, people are flooding in for the mass. And there's multiple masses throughout the day. The noon mass is a common one. There's also one at 7. There's one in the morning. And so people are flooding in. And at a certain point, they decide it's at capacity or the mass starts and they close the doors. And you'll see a long line of people waiting to get
Long,
into the
very
cathedral
long.
when you get out because they're not allowed to come in while the mass is going on. And then they do not swing the Barufumero until the end of the service
It's
if they're going to do it. Yeah.
And do go early. That's another thing. We
Oh,
thought
yeah.
we had 30 minutes time or something, but that wasn't enough. We really need to go an hour ahead of time to get in line or get into the church.
And take a seat.
Because again, if you miss it, you miss it. Or standing. We were standing.
Mhm.
But our nephew, when you said, okay, it's going to happen, I thought, are you kidding? And you said, yeah, those gentlemen over there in the velvet, in the
And the
maroon
capes.
velvet
Mhm,
with the
mhm,
yeah, and oh my goodness, sure enough, they started to untwine the large thick ropes like it was a major, vessel. It was gonna get ready to sail the seas
mhm.
because it's so heavy.
Yeah, yeah,
It was a and it's full of for those who like history, that cathedral is full of little gifts, um, historic, and so I do some of them you need to make a reservation for.
mhm,
Some just have little spontaneous lines that you can join. I did those for a behind the scenes, behind the altar, but there's some others if you want to see some of the relics of St. James or whatever, you have to make a reservation. So I I did not do my homework uh, well enough about that. So I have unfinished business there, I say.
yeah, yeah, and I think that's the other thing about Santiago. I mean, some of it when you first get there, or even a couple days there, like, you're running into people that you met, depending on how long you've been on the Camino.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
my first Camino, I was walking for 37 days. So, I mean, there were tons of people that, every day I was out on in the cathedral, like, or just walking around Santiago de Compostela, I'd run into people that I hadn't seen sometimes since day 1, and there they were in Santiago. So it's really something to even to plan, um, it's a thing to balance, like, how much planning do you wanna do versus how much are you just gonna be
Mhm.
there taking in the city streets, going up to the park, looking at the view, and things like that. So,
Yeah, I think if you
um,
stay at some of the albergues, you have more flexibility. But if you have planned hotels, that was really important to me. So I think it's a matter of ironing out where your priorities are. If you want to go with the flow and just see what's open, available, or do it a day or two in advance, that works for many, many people. Some people want to carry the luggage. Somebody said, what was it? You want to be a pilgrim, not a, what was that expression? A pilgrim,
oh, not a martyr.
not a martyr. Yeah, that's I'm too old for that. And I think when I was younger, I wouldn't have chosen that anyway either. I like having a soft pillow, preferably with the chocolate on it when I arrive at a hotel. Um, but anyway, but I think you have to decide that it's a give and take. And what
Mhm,
are you looking for? Really think about it before you. What do you want out of that experience? How do you want it to go
yeah,
with the planning, not in control, but
mhm,
yeah, I think and it was so interesting because you may have these intense friendships being on this shorter route. We did see a lot of the same people. That cute British couple, I can't
yeah,
remember the names right now. And she was the planner. Boy, she had such great notes that I owe
yeah.
you those notes. I have them somewhere. Um, and and we'd see him every day. And it was so wild that last night we happened to run into him when we were getting our 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 Camino passport stamped. Um, and it was like I was going to see them the next day, and I was never going to see
Yeah.
them again in my lifetime.
Yeah.
But they were charming, and they made the experience more fun. You know, so you meet all kinds of wonderful people along the way.
You too. Kathie, I have one final question for you that I usually end with. For people that are considering the Camino, maybe on the fence, not sure if this is something that's for them, or what would you say?
Go. Don't walk, run. Run towards it. Run towards it, then you can walk. It you will thank yourself many times over if you do this. I've experienced a lot of things. Like I said, I've traveled a lot, and this is way up at the top of just personal experiences, travel and otherwise, just personal. Lean into it. You know that expression, lean into it. When you're ready, you'll know. Don't make excuses. Just because you'll miss an opportunity. This is an opportunity that is out there. It has been for hundreds of years. It's not going anywhere, but go for it because then the rest of your life is that much richer. So go
Thank you
for it.
so much, Kathie. So
Thank you.
again, this is Kathie Carnahan who joined me. She walked the Camino Inglés in October, and we are. Thank you so much for sharing
Yes,
your experiences with us,
bye.
Kathie.
It was fun to think about it and revisit it. And I highly recommend Rebecca's expertise. I mean, I could not, literally could not have done it without you. And now I feel like, what's next?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I
Uh,
appreciate everything you did.
that's awesome. Like a lot of people, you become hooked, right?
Yes, and I am.
Yes.
I really am.
Kathie's ready. She's ready for
Never
her
too
next.
late. Never too late to get hooked.
There
Never
you
too
go. Oh,
late.
and Margaret was on the Camino with us. She's saying it was Robert and Sally from Britain.
Oh,
And she
great.
says, great hearing from you. Good. Thanks for joining us, Margaret. And
Wonderful.
thank you for
Hi,
everybody
Margaret.
else who joined us. Sonia, Maria, Debbie, Josh, Rosie, my dad joined us.
I know.
Um, so
He's your
wonderful. And
biggest fan. Your biggest fan.
he is indeed. And so for those of you, I do these every Wednesday, if everything works out with technology. But for the next 2 weeks, I'm taking off for the Christmas holiday, and I'll be back in January with some more wonderful guests, talking all things Camino de Santiago. And I invite you all to join us every Wednesday at 11 Eastern time, starting in the new year. So thanks so much, Kathie.
Great. Love seeing you. Take care.
All
Bye,
right, bye
everybody.
bye.
Bye.